$25 million, young fella.
Have you told them yet what you plan to do?
No, I mean, kind of just taking it day by day.
You gotta love it when someone's saying, yeah, I'm trying to figure out if I'm gonna take this $25 million day by day.
That was Richard Jefferson advising his old rook to take the $25 million, but apparently Harrison Barnes had some idea what was coming. He opted out of that $25 million, and now the Kings are reportedly expected to offer him a 4-year deal worth $90 million. Did Barnes make the right move?
Yeah.
$90 million, people.
Hell yeah, he made the right move. Are you kidding me? Players always know.
I just find RJ being an agent a little scary.
That's true. And apparently, given that one example, not a good idea, apparently. So, not do that. Welcome to The Jump. We have a special Insiders Only edition. Yes, it is that time of year. ESPN senior writer Ramona Shelburne, Warriors reporter Nick Friedel, Lakers reporter Young Masuk, our player analysts gearing up for free agency. They're taking a day off for load management, which I think is fair. And plus, these are the experts we want to guide you through the next hour. Coming up later in the show, with the Lakers near max cap space, would LeBron be willing to change his game to help recruit Kawhi to Los Angeles? We will discuss, but first. So we sometimes compare NBA free agency to a game of musical chairs, but it's not nearly that simple. Really, it's more like playing musical chairs, except also you're wearing a blindfold, and also sometimes one of the chairs gets pulled for a few days before coming back into the circle, and also sometimes you get pulled out of the circle and have to stand in the corner while the music keeps going, and also sometimes one of the other teams secretly has some of its own chairs, texting some of the original chairs to push themselves off to the side and out of the game entirely. It's hard and unpredictable, and at some point over the next few days, several teams are going to have to just flat out gamble they'll be in the right place when the music stops. For example, let's say you're the Rockets, and before you've even met with Jimmy Butler, you are making it known around the league that you will be willing to trade away key pieces like PJ Tucker and Clint Capella to make cap room for Butler, except what if Butler doesn't come and you got to get those guys to buy back into Houston again? Or what if you're the Clippers and plan A is to get Kawhi Leonard and maybe even a second star with him, but Kawhi is also taking meetings with the Lakers and the Raptors and possibly some other teams, and by the time he does all that and takes a day or two to make his decision, what if he doesn't choose you? You might say, well, let's just run it back with the gutsy team that gave the Warriors such a hard time in the playoffs earlier this spring. Except while you've been holding cap space open, Pest-in-Chief Patrick Beverley has been wined and signed by some other team willing to give him that 3-year, $40 million contract that Tim McMahon reported he is indeed looking for. The Clippers have at least planned for that scenario. They're heavy on guards anyway, but it's exactly that type of situation that prompted them to trade Tobias Harris in February, even though he was their leading scorer at the time. They knew Tobias would be looking for a max deal as soon as free agency opened. They also knew they would be holding the space for Kawhi or Kawhi plus one, and they didn't want to lose Tobias for nothing if the timing just didn't work out. That's how complicated all this is. And it's even more so if you're one of the teams interested in D'Angelo Russell or Malcolm Brogdon, who are restricted free agents. You're allowed to sign them to an offer sheet, but their original teams then have time to match. And during that time, the money that you've offered is tied up and can't be offered to anyone else. And it's a lot of time. Let's say a team offers Russell a deal on July 2nd. Well, it doesn't even become official until the NBA's moratorium is lifted on July 6th. At that point, the Nets would have 2 days to match the offer sheet. And then they could take another 2 days to bring Russell in for his physical, leaving the outside team's cap space tied up until July 10th, and they still wouldn't be getting Russell at the end of it. And Brooklyn is very familiar with that game because that's exactly what the Wizards did to them with Otto Porter 2 summers ago. Of course, maybe Brooklyn renounces Russell early if it turns out they need to make the room for both Kyrie and Kevin Durant to sign. But if that happens, that means the Knicks are more open and may throw themselves into the Jimmy Butler derby, which could then circle back to affect the Lakers and the Heat Rockets and the Clippers, and so on and so on. It is chaos, and it's coming this weekend. So grab a chair,